Welcome to the Dirty Side of Leadership podcast with Ron and Kristin, where leadership meets entertainment. This podcast features stories with names and certain aspects that have been changed to keep submissions private. Enjoy the show.
Welcome back to the Dirty Side of Leadership podcast, where leadership meets entertainment. I'm Kristin.
And I'm Ron, and today we're diving into persuasion, not in a creepy, manipulative way, well, maybe just a little, but it's really exciting.
Oh my goodness. More like in a way that helps you get things done without a fancy title. Because let's be honest, some of the most powerful people in an organization aren't the ones sitting in the executive suite.
Yeah, I call those pseudo leaders. Think about it. How many times have you seen a boss who literally can't lead their way up a paper bag? And there's always someone that steps up. They've got charisma and they've really got the influence of the staff.
Right.
And they get buy-in. And there's ways that they do it that can be taught. There is a little bit of, I call leadership part science, part art, a little bit of art to it. But we are going to look at some ways that can really elevate your influence.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is persuasion. And today we are breaking down how you can do it. We're going to go deep into the psychology, the strategies, and because I know Ron is excited for this, how Japanese geishas mastered the art of persuasion centuries ago.
I have no idea what those are. What are those? Let's get into it.
Yes. Okay. So the first segment we are going to break down is the psychology of persuasion and why we say yes. So persuasion isn't some mystical skill that only salespeople and politicians have. It's actually based on psychology, on predictable patterns of human behavior.
Absolutely. And if you understand those patterns, you can ethically, I stress that, influence people, whether you have the title or not. Dr. Robert Cialdini, did I say that right?
Yeah.
Cialdini, a big psychologist guy. He spent years studying persuasion and found 6 core principles that explain why people say yes. Kristin's going to give you some of the information about influence. But don't forget that your body language, eye contact, hand placement, posture will add to everything that we're going to talk about. So we're not negating some previous episodes, but check this stuff out.
Yeah, let's run through them real quick. So the first one, reciprocity, give first and people feel compelled to give back. So an example is, have you ever gotten a free sample at Costco and now you feel like you should buy the full-size pack? That's reciprocity at work. And I've absolutely felt guilty about that before. And you have to act interested.
I do too, but I act interested and I sneak away. I'm like, yeah, really? I'm going to look around for that. Don't you hate when they have it sitting right there?
Yeah, it's like, it's right here. Oh, that's great. Thank you.
I like it better when they have it on the shelf and you can,
I know.
Yeah, I'm going to go look for that. See you later.
I know. So it really does make you feel that way. So the next one, commitment and consistency. And if people agree to something small, they're more likely to stick with bigger commitments. So an example is sign up for a free trial and suddenly you're justifying why you need that full subscription.
And you know, Kristin, that same principle applies with upselling. People, if they've bought one product from you, they're over 30% more likely to buy another product.
Very interesting.
Very similar principle, yes.
Yeah. The other is social proof. So we trust what others trust. I mean, we talk about influencers online, right? So that's basically what that is. So an example, have you ever booked a hotel because of glowing reviews? I know I have. That's the first thing I look for is reviews with restaurants and hotels. So that is that social proof in action that is very powerful.
And you know, Kristin, I was doing a study on marketing and things, and they've talked about like trends, all these other things. But in truth, when you scale back everything from money to all the other aspects, lighting, lights, camera, action, what sells in America is popularity. And that's exactly what social proof is. It's just popularity.
Yeah, I think about TikTok trends and TikTok sales. People are making millions of dollars selling things on TikTok. It's because people feel like they know them. That familiarity also plays in.
Yeah, it's true.
So there's also authority, and people follow experts and those with perceived credibility. So an example, a doctor's advice holds more weight than a random influencer's. Even though I feel like the tides are turning a little bit on that.
Yeah, I was withholding on that, but
Yeah,
a lot of people have lost respect in the medical community.
Yes.
No disrespect to the great doctors that are out there, but there's definitely people are more skeptical because of COVID and other things.
Yeah, over the last 4 years, that's definitely changed.
Yeah.
Liking. So we say yes to people we like. So an example, you may be more likely to do a favor for a friend than a stranger. And I think that one makes a lot of sense to me, at least.
No, it's very true. And Kristin, even in marketing or executive coaching, I love contracts, but none of my contracts are going to start until May. So what I do is I find people that I believe would benefit from this. Now, of course, occasionally someone reaches out. I had someone not long ago, but I literally target people that I believe they like me, and I believe they can benefit. And it's really working. It's really working.
Fantastic.
These principles.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what I can't help but think of? What was the murderer that would ask people to help them, like, bring things into their vehicle? Was it Ted Bundy? Like, hey, can you help me? I have a broken arm. Can you help me put this into the back of my van?
With the broken arm, yes.
Yes, seriously. That's what I think of when I think of a stranger asking for help.
I thought you were talking about Dexter. He's a medical examiner and he kills people. I think that's so funny and creepy. But anyway.
I know. Oh, scarcity is another one. We want what we can't have. It's that exclusivity factor. An example, only 2 left in stock. That's classic scarcity pressure.
And love that. Call now while supplies last.
I see it on I buy a lot of clothes from like an online retailer, and it'll be like there's only 5 left in stock, and they will literally like if you wait, it'll be gone. So I'm like, oh man. So they weren't kidding. Nordstrom Rack does that too. So it's really smart actually.
Yeah. And Kristin, I'm going to throw in one bonus, and this is something as of about 2020. They found that because of saturation, people are so skeptical about any kind of sales, no matter what the strategy. Now they want autonomy. What that means is you say to them, hey, you can say no, but I just wanted to share. And then that's when you talk about the problem and you bring a solution, but you give them some level of autonomy in the decision making, or you give choices. People love choices. You can get the higher end, or you can get the medium range. It's totally up to you, but I think you would look great in this higher end. It's that type of thing. People want to feel like they have some measure of control. And I'm only talking about really sales in this regard.
Oh, yeah. No, it's 100% accurate for sure.
All right.
And people don't want too many options either. So the example you gave with 2 is perfect.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, people don't want to be bombarded with options.
No,
now, here's where it gets fun. Because the same persuasion tactics has been used throughout history, including, I'm sorry, I'm about to lie, some of the most unexpected people like Japanese geishas, that word, those people that Kristin brought up that I don't know what she's talking about. Take it away.
Studying karate and Japan. I know.
Yeah, that's right. I
guess I've heard of them. Know what's going on here. All right. So the geisha, I don't even know if they're still practicing. I should have looked into that. I'm sure it is at some level, but masters of subtle persuasion. So let's clear this up right away. Geishas were not prostitutes. They were artists, entertainers, and more importantly, masters of influence.
Yes, we're here to redeem geishas. That's what this whole podcast is about. Their entire role was about persuasion without power. They didn't demand attention. They drew it. They weren't overt. They were subtle. And that's what made them so powerful. In our executive coaching program, I literally have some people watch James Bond or Denzel Washington due to the way they carry themselves and the way they never come across spastic, nervous, uncomfortable. And if you present yourself cool, even under pressure, and I know the geishas in this scenario are not under pressure, but I literally have coached people who bounce around on the screen and I tell them you need to be cool, calm, and collected. I've said this before, Kristin. There's nothing worse than a leader in crisis, and they're showing everyone that they're in crisis.
Right. Oh, I know. I've experienced that. It doesn't feel right. They should be the rock, right?
Yeah.
So geishas were trained in conversation, psychology, and social influence, and they could make powerful men listen. And it wasn't by forcing their way in, but to your point, by making those men want to listen, subtle. And they did this using three key tactics. Okay. So the first one, liking. They built deep personal connections, making people feel valued and important. Authority. They mastered music, poetry, and culture, and this positioned them as the elite of society. Scarcity. Now, not everyone had access to a true geisha, so it made their time feel rare and exclusive, which in turn made it more desirable.
Yeah, so basically they were LinkedIn influencers before LinkedIn was a thing.
Yeah.
I get it.
There's a great geisha movie out there. I think it's probably 20 years old at this point, but it was wild to watch, and I want to rewatch that now that we've done the research into it.
I do too. I remember
Fascinating.
that. Yeah, it really is.
So one of their biggest weapons was strategic silence. They wouldn't dominate conversations. Instead, they'd let the other person lean in, literally, because science pulls people in.
Yeah. So the secret to persuasion is to shut up. I got it.
Yeah, sometimes, yes.
You know, Kristin, we talk a lot about the dopamine drizzle in coaching. And when you ask a question and someone is talking about something they enjoy, they get that dopamine drizzle. It makes their brain feel good. And in turn, it makes them feel good about your presence. They leave psychologically feeling good about you because of that little dopamine high that they got.
Yeah, that I've experienced that. I'm sure you have as well. When you get that chance and you feel heard and validated, it does feel great. And you remember those instances. Okay, you're gonna, or let's see here. I can jump into this. Okay, how to use persuasion in leadership, even without a title. We said that in the beginning here. So how do we actually implement this? Do you want to run us through this, Ron? I feel like I'm talking a lot
I'm
here.
I'm going to touch on something, and it's master storytelling. And Kristin, I do have a segment on storytelling. I'm not going to go in.
You do. I remember that.
Too in depth. But of course, you need a hook. You need to capture someone's interest. And that can be a line in the middle of the story. For example, I witnessed a shooting at the police academy. So I could start a story by saying, and there I saw the person lying on the ground bleeding, and they handed me the gun. I mean, that, and what we call those are intriguing connectors. And you need to interlace intriguing connectors throughout a story, because how many times have you seen something start off really great and then you get bored, then you get lost? So you got to throw in an intriguing connector. So people who master storytelling, they are very, very persuasive. Think about Steve Jobs when he introduced the iPhone, not with specs, but by telling a story about how it would change lives. I would have picked that device up and said, look at the size of this, look what it'll do. But he didn't. He told a story. And then I mentioned intriguing connectors, and not just connectors in the story, but connecting with the audience. And that comes through, eye contact, looking people, hesitating. There's nothing more powerful than that strong pause when you just stop and you just sit there. It's very important.
I posted a video recently. I don't know if you saw it, but Elon did a 12-second pause when he was being interviewed. And it was wild that and he came back with the best response as well. But 12 seconds, and the reporter, he just sat there. And clearly both of them were comfortable with that pause. And
I did watch that, and I use that in joking and coaching and say, you want to pause, but probably not 12 seconds unless you're the richest man in the world.
I know, yeah, like maybe 3 at most.
Another thing is asking the right questions. Instead of telling people what to do, ask questions that guide them to their own realization. There is nothing more beautiful than you already know where you want someone to go, but you let them lead the way. It's that autonomy that I talked about. So you frame questions to get them to the right point. Like, what do you think? Let's use a car. What do you think about leather versus cloth? And they say, well, I like leather. Yeah, I agree with you. Leather really is awesome. As a matter of fact, I don't think I could ever go back to a cloth seat. And you're doing that to guide them in the way that you want them to go.
Right.
We've already mentioned it, but use silence effectively. One of the most difficult problems people have in public speaking is, we call those word whiskers. But silence can be so powerful.
Yes.
Again, the 12 seconds, maybe not. It was powerful for Elon, but seriously, you can pause and make sure that you drive a point home, your voice inflection at a strong point, and then you just stop. Let people think, let them absorb.
Yes.
And then speak with confidence. I can't say enough. The most difficult thing I had, Kristin, in starting my company was sales and pricing. I loathed it. I got more nervous in presenting something to sell, so I really delved into it. But what I found is, like everything else, if you believe in your product, now, of course, there's other influential things that we're talking about, but if you truly, truly believe you can bring this level of value to someone, then you are more confident. And then the more times you talk to people and sell a product, or they do what you're suggesting, you become more powerful in your space, because everything comes with practice. And as you practice, you're going to learn to speak with confidence. You're going to exhibit that body language, the things that we've talked about on other podcasts, and you're going to be so much more powerful in your space.
Yes, absolutely. I'm glad you touched on that, because when I was in banking, I'm the same way, Ron. I couldn't sell something I didn't believe in, right?
Right.
And luckily with bank products, it's like something the majority of people generally and genuinely need. So that was a really easy connector for me, but it was so uncomfortable for so many. But as long as you can see how it would benefit the person and then bring them to where they understand the benefit for them, then it's just a smooth conversation. But I love all of these. I think it's incredible when we really look into the art of persuasion and what goes into it. The details are there, but it's something that most people could, if you don't have it naturally, you can gain the skill.
You really can. As I said, leadership's art and science. And science is about building your knowledge. Art is that finesse. It's that ability to persuade, because no one can ever call themselves a leader if they don't have followers.
Right.
And if you want to be really powerful, you have long-term followers versus short-term.
Right.
So the reason we started off by saying it's not about manipulation. You can manipulate people into buying a product or doing something for you, helping you move, whatever that is. But they're going to see right through it if they've been manipulated. Right. And there's no reciprocity. You don't ever help them do anything. So don't use this for there's something called dark psychology. You don't want to get into that. You want to use it for the right reasons.
Yeah. But
there's nothing wrong with being influential, with being powerful, and with helping and guiding people. Did you know, Kristin, 80% of the people are more aligned with betas? That means they're looking for 20% to lead them. That's how cults, that's how all of these things start, because people want to be led. So if you're listening and you believe that you are a leader, apply these skills, begin to work on your influence, and big things will happen for you, that's for sure.
All right, so here is our challenge for you. Try one of these techniques this week and tell us what happens. Did it work? Did someone call you out? DM us on Instagram at the Dirty Side of Leadership. We have a page there. We're on Facebook, or drop a comment.
Yeah, or call Kristin at midnight. Just let her know. I'll put her phone number in the show notes, and
that would be fabulous.
You can let me know, Kristin.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, This is a short, quick but informative episode. And if you like it, please download our podcast. Tell people about the podcast. If you do watch on Rumble or YouTube, please like, subscribe, click the bell, all of those things. To be honest with you, the podcasting helps us more, but I catch myself watching YouTube as well a lot. And I get it. We get it. So, but anyway, we appreciate you so much for coming on this journey with us.
Yes, thank you. We appreciate you guys and so many loyal listeners out there. And thank you for sharing.
Absolutely. All right. Be the leader you're meant to be.
We will see you next week.
The Dirty Side of Leadership podcast is brought to you by Forward Operations. If you'd like to book Ron or Kristin for speaking events, training, or executive coaching, visit forwardoperations.com. Be the leader you're meant to be.